Hi, in this video I'd like to review the basic workflow for building our pro forma. And remember, the first step was to download the 10K from the company website. Three main things we're looking for there. Work a lot better if we get them in a PDF version. And we can generally Google the company name along with investor relations to get to their page that includes things like filings. We're looking for the latest 10K. Click on PDF and it should open up a PDF that looks like this. And about the third page is usually the shortcuts to get us to the important parts: the management discussion and analysis, the financial statements, and the notes. And if we'll save that as a PDF, then these will always work as hyperlinks. And if you like to edit PDFs, then it's a very useful way to keep track of your work. The income statement will give us numbers that we can use to confirm that we get the right spreadsheets here in a moment, as well as the balance sheet, bottom lines, and the cash flow statement. So to get those spreadsheets, we know to go to Edgar, Company Filings, put in the name of our company or the ticker, filter if we like by 10K, choose the most recent and click on Interactive Data. And then we can view an Excel document that has basically every table that was in the filings. If we right-click between these two arrows, we can see a list of all the sheets in this workbook. And we can identify our balance sheet, income statement, and cash flows. So what we'd like to do is click those three by holding the Control key, and then right-click so we can copy them to a new book. So in terms of our workflow, we've looked at downloading the 10K and compiling the originals. We've downloaded these financial statements. Now we need to arrange them. The dates are most recent to the left and oldest to the right. We want to change that. One way to do that is to sort left to right on row 2. Another way to do that is to choose the entire column, cut it, and paste insert. If I have 2 columns, I like that way, but if I have 3 columns, I like to do the sort. Then we're ready to cut and paste the balance sheet beneath the income statement. Notice the balance sheet has 1 fewer columns, so we'll shift those cells to the right, and then we'll go get the cash flows. And then just make sure that 17, 18, and 19 are reflected in B, C, and D appropriately. So we've done A, B, and C. I'm not going to do D in this video. Every company reports different line items and usually change their line items slightly with each filing, but you'd always want to do that to get more history. We'll go ahead and format what I'm going to call the data in blue and any subtotals in black bold. Since we don't have the blue that I like and that many banks like, we're going to create a custom blue that has an RGB code of 00255. Now the next step is to check the math, and we may find ourselves wondering, does a positive indicate an inflow or an outflow? And one reason for checking the math is to do that very thing. What we find is that these must be outflows because when I subtract them from the revenue, then I match the operating income. Another quick way to check is to highlight all of these expenses, check in the status bar if the sum equals the total operating expenses. I'm going to go ahead and check the math and color the fonts on the rest of these statements. Notice this time my blue is available, so if I hit up arrow a couple of times, it's already there. And now back to the workflow. I have formatted the data and I've checked the math on the subtotals. And again, that's less about errors and more about helping me understand the sign convention. Now we need to restate the statements. And this is really the biggest challenge in the whole process. It's not going to be perfect, and it's really an exercise in finding an acceptable level of accuracy. So to restate the balance sheet, the general approach here is to simplify, bring in only the data that we need to model. We may need to actually bring in a little bit of extra data. Often companies give us only the net interest expense, and we need to go back to the notes and find the interest earned and the interest expense that results in that net. Sometimes we'll see some non-recurring items, and we want to keep them on separate lines when we can. That way, when we're doing the modeling, we can zero them out, or we can at least calculate our ratios without those non-recurring items. And then finally, we'll need to add some additional lines like EBITDA, perhaps dividends, retained earnings, and share counts. Now, there are a lot of footnotes here that describe a lot more detail than I'm going through in this video. I encourage you to read through those, and as you become more comfortable with them, then this should provide a streamlined workflow for your use now and in the future. So let's clean up our file by deleting the tabs we don't need. And let's name this tab Restatement. Insert a couple of rows to talk about our originals and our restatements. Now we're ready to start restating.